Take 3. Hey guys, welcome to my little studio. We're doing this again because I apparently didn't start the camera for the first 2 takes. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about Chroma Key. I'm not going to go into technique or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about the types of materials you can use to do Chroma Key on a budget. Now if you have a dedicated space, small as it may be like I have here, the other side of my basement is all basement. It's gray and white walls and full of junk just like any other basement. But this little section here, this little horseshoe, where we might want to paint some of the ceiling here. There's a light right there, so we really can't do too much ceiling anyway. But this little horseshoe is my studio. So we've painted, you can see this wall here, tucked behind that green paper is another blue wall, and on this side here's another blue wall. So we can shoot wall to wall, not floor to ceiling. We do have some blue panels for the floor, so we get people's feet in, and we get top of the head in if they're not too tall. And we can do an entire blue screen. Now, if I look at my leg, you can see I'm wearing blue jeans. If we were doing a full body shot with a wider angle lens, my blue jeans on the blue wall would not work. So I like to have a green option as well. This is actual Chroma Key green paper. It's not lit for keying right now, but it would work pretty well. So the paint is not actual blue screen paint. You can use your color key or your Chroma Key and choose this blue. But if you put in blue screen as your thing, like Adobe Premiere has it, and I'm sure After Effects has it, the blue that they use, this is not balanced perfectly for, and you'll get a little bit of a haziness to your keys. There are places online, I believe Detonation Films is one of them, that used to have, I don't know if they still have, the codes to bring to Home Depot or Lowe's to tell them how to get the green or the blue. I know they used to have for the green for sure. That's the proper paint to throw on the wall. And you know, paint's like $40 a gallon. They've got ones that do it in one coat now. So I think we did this with 1.5 gallons. So about $60, 3 walls. That's not too bad. Probably, $80 because you're going to wind up buying 2 gallons. But so $80, you probably also could have done the ceiling and maybe done some floor panels, or if you've got a concrete floor, or just an unfinished wood floor, or even linoleum, you could probably paint it. And then you'll have blue, blue, blue. The other thing you want to try to avoid, if you can, I couldn't hear the basement, this to the side here, I don't know if you can see it over here. If you come back here, this is ductwork on the corners here. And so this part of the ceiling that drops below the green, that ductwork is cornered for a reason. It's got the air conditioning and heat ducts running through it. If you can round that off, it's all the better. Sharp edges cause shadows, shadows cause problems. It's more difficult to light, and it's more difficult to get a clean key off. With the green screen, when you roll it out, you can leave rounded edges as you roll it out. So the green paper, or even the blue paper, high key white paper, which of course wouldn't work with this shirt, and if you get hot spots, if somebody has pale skin like I do, where I don't have a beard, you'll have problem keying on the white. The reason blue and green work so well is because there's not a whole lot of blue and green in our skin tone. The other thing you want to make sure when you set up your screen, if you've got the space, is that you have enough distance from your screen to your actors that you don't get a lot of reflection from that light. Like when we were forced to shoot in here for Jack vs. Lanterns recently, because it was pouring rain outside, my actresses had appointments the next day, and then they were leaving to go back to LA the day after that. We had to shoot in here. Well, Michelle's armor for the final hero scenes in Jack vs. Lantern is made of a plastic, and the plastic, I didn't realize, had a bit of a shine to it. I thought it was a flat black. I probably should have sprayed it with a flat coat of black just to make sure it was a flat black. Had a little bit of reflectiveness to it. It picked up some of the blue screen in the background, and so there's a blue haze on it that if I try, it was enough of a difference that it wouldn't key holes into her, because the back was lit better. It was just a reflected blue. But if I tried to get a really, really tight key on her, to where you wouldn't see any haze around her head or through her hair. Women's hair, it leaves these little holes as it comes down the long hair. The very top of her head and stuff like that. If I wanted to get rid of all that haze and really blend it tightly, that blue in her suit would then, in her armor reflected, would then start to bleed out. So, the fortunate part is, these were night scenes. So the stuff that I keyed into the background is stuff that we shot during the day, and we were going to have to make it look like nighttime anyway. So one of the things we did to make it look like nighttime is we made that layer kind of blue. Then we took her layer and put a little bit of a blue light, like you saw in the first video we did in Inside Aphid Feet. well, the first one of this season, where we showed you lighting in post, where we can add lights and gels and stuff like that. We did that, and so she has a little bit of a blue moonlight on her, blue moonlight on the background. Now that blue haze and the blue reflected in her armor all seem to be coming from the ambient moonlight. And so that works better for us. If we were shooting daytime stuff in front of trees and bushes, this green would have been the optimal way to go. Because then the haze around her would have been green. And it would have played okay off of reflected trees, grass, and the type of green hues that you would find around her. Best to avoid it, but if you can't avoid it, choose your colors based first on the colors that your character are wearing. So, I mean, obviously we couldn't shoot the green alien, the green demon girl from, I believe it was Death Plots. We could not shoot her on the green background because she would be rendered invisible. We'd shoot her on the blue. But once you've eliminated your character's colors as a problem, so if they're wearing only colors that could be either on blue or white, blue or green, so if they're wearing black, white, tans, grays, all great, then choose your background based on what the background you're keying in is. Is it blue sky? Use blue. Is it green bushes? Use green. If it's a city, probably better off with blue, maybe green, depending on what types of buildings and stuff they are. For miniatures that are going to be like airplanes and flying saucers and stuff like that in the sky, you're probably better off with the blue. And again, things like silver spaceships and stuff, you need to get very, very far from the background. I had a habit of, when I shot miniatures, using a miniature green screen. This way I could do it anywhere in the house I wanted to. It made life easier. But if I took a piece of green oak tag and attached it to some foam board like this, and then had the miniature only a couple of inches away, the green would reflect onto the miniature. If it was especially like a silver spaceship or something like that. And then it would want to key out that section of the spaceship. Actually, black is a great color for that, and then just light the ship itself. But if you have any shadows, same problem. So again, you want to use your flattest paints on miniatures, and silver not the best color. And if it is silver, keep it far, far, like several feet from the background so that reflected light doesn't cause a problem. Now, we've gone over the paint, the cost of that. These 9-foot background rolls, you can get several uses out of them. I don't know if you can see this one has a hole at the very top. If you get some painter's tape, you can patch that, cut those small pieces off. Not really a problem. These, the last time I bought one, I make them last as long as I can. The last time I bought them, they were like $60 a roll. That was delivered. You can sometimes find them locally cheaper and pick them up. They're portable if you have a minivan, a pickup truck, an SUV. The SUV, if it's a small one, you're going to need that front seat to go down because they are 9 feet long. Like in my station wagon and my SUV, my Saturn Vue, I used to have to put it in crooked from all the way to the back, all the way across, over the gear shifter, onto the dashboard. My Volvo wagon, the front seat laid flat forward, so I was able to go from the dashboard all the way to the rear hatch, and I'd have to line it up so that the hatch, where it sloped down, it was there. It couldn't be on top of anything or it would stick out the back. But in that sense, they're semi-portable. You can also get 4.5 footers if you're only doing, talking head stuff, and then you can bring it to people's houses to do shots, which is kind of neat if you need to insert characters into other scenes. $60, not terribly expensive, but if you're on a super tight budget, it's still a little up there in price. I mean, it's you'd be doing that instead of going to the movies on a Friday night with your girl or your best guy or whatever. So, there's always this solution to get started and see and basically practice your craft at Chroma Key. This, you can see it gets a lot of bounce and reflectiveness off of it. So those would be problems, and that was the next thing I would tell you. But this is a dollar store. It's already got a hole in it too. This is a dollar store tablecloth. So you'd want to be very careful when you light this to get it as even as possible and to try and avoid hot spots, reflections, and wrinkles, which with this plastic is not terribly easy. What this was useful for when we were shooting the Fishman monster for the Giant Rubber Monster Movie 2. And we were shooting him on the blue screens. I didn't have a floor, and we wanted to show his feet stomping around and stuff like that. So I went out and grabbed that for $1, laid it down on the carpet, because we hadn't gotten the painted flooring yet. And we only had one blue wall at the time, I believe. We laid that down, and for a floor, I believe it worked. You'd have to ask Thomas Brudinski how difficult the keying was. We managed to make it work. The other thing you can do, and this will work a lot better in terms of reflectiveness, at your local craft stores where they have the section of fabrics that are on sale for clearance, lots of times a really ugly green will go on clearance, or a super, super bright blue. Especially after a sports season like this, you'll find colors. If it was a team color, you're going to find it. And those two colors, again, they're not going to be perfectly what the computer expects, but you can tell the computer, use this green or use this blue. And if you can find one that's 2 yards wide, so 6 feet wide, you generally get a pretty good size there. And then you buy the yardage you want to cover wall to wall. And then you've got almost the height of your person, wall to wall. Get a second piece to lay down. They're usually about $3 a yard, so now you're at, $18 for 9 feet and 9 feet for flooring. Not too bad. So if you can find it in the clearance section, if you got to go somewhere else, and again, look for a not transparent material, because if you use a green that you can see through, you're going to get the bleed from the wall behind it. And something as the less reflective it is, the better. So a felt will work really well if you can light it well. And fabrics that are more likely to take in the light but not bounce it back at your characters. That's going to work much better. Again, I mentioned hot spots and shadows. If you get a hot spot, it's going to look white to the camera, so this white will bleed through. If you get a shadow, it's going to look black to the camera, so this black is going to bleed in when you try and tighten up your key. So when you light, you want to have some powerful lights. Now this, we'll talk about light stands in another episode, and we'll actually talk about lighting in another episode. But this is a standard clamp light. 2 of these at 100 watts a piece. If your distance is pretty decent, you should be able to light boom, boom, and then just key light your character. So you want a nice even light back there. If you have to evenly light your character, that's fine. Again, you can throw shadow and other lights in post. This is an incandescent light. On your cameras, most of them will have like a little square light bulb thing. That's your fluorescent. This is an incandescent. Right now, I've got fluorescence overhead. If I were to mix that with this, the auto white balance wouldn't be able to perfectly rectify it, but it would rectify it better than if I set it for fluorescent. Then you'd get the wrong color off of this light. If you did it incandescent, you'd get the wrong color information off of the fluorescent, and the fluorescent will tend to throw your people, I believe it's green. It might have changed since the newer CFL bulbs throw it another direction. True white is something that a lot of light bulbs will say, or soft white. Those are kind of better if you can get one that's balanced more. But if you use a professional light bulb, it'll come with a color temperature. And then, so if you get a 32K light, you can tell your camera, if it's a professional level camera, prosumer camera, that it's 3200 Kelvin. And then you're all right. The color balance should be almost perfect. And you want your color balance to be as good as possible so that the camera reads green as green, reads blue as blue. If your camera only has auto white balance, doesn't have a manual setting, then what you want to do is grab yourself a white sheet of paper, like hang on. So start your clip when you slate, scene 1, blah, 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 and clap, or clap, however you do it. Then right in the middle of your different types of lighting, hold a white sheet of A4. Regular printer paper, 8x10, fine. A few sheets actually better so you don't get light coming through the back. Then later on in post, if your software enables you to, you can set your white level based on that sheet of paper. So if your camera doesn't have it, you can set it in post. You want to at least have that option. Make sure it's where your different kind of lights converge. So if you're mixing incandescent and fluorescent, or sunlight and, for some reason, like we recently shot outside a scene that was day for night. And so we were mixing sunlight and a spotlight, well actually a floodlight, because we lit the character's face a lot. So that later on, or actually we did it right there in camera, but we would have been able to do it in post also, we can darken down all the surrounding area and still have her lit. This way it looks like nighttime in the surrounding area, but our character's still lit properly. So if you're mixing lights, make sure you have some kind of way to white balance them all together. If you're only using one type of light and your camera allows you to set it for that type of light, so incandescent or fluorescent, outside sunlight, go ahead and do that. You'll be good to go. The cool thing about these white sheets, these paper sheets too, again, there's green, high key white, there's true black that you can use for screening, and they sell the Chroma Key blue also, a blue screen one. The great thing about these paper rolls is if you roll them out sideways outside, stand them up, you can actually do Chroma Keys outside. The only reason you really want to do that is if you need the space, or if the foreground is something you really want, but say you need to block somebody's house out with something else. You know, or your neighbor parked their car here, you need to put a background there and get rid of it. Cool way to do it. Again, though, it's a little expensive, so if you bring it outside, that's probably the only time you're ever going to get to use that particular sheet of it. I would save scraps of this for that. The other thing to think about is we had a little trouble with wigs on several movies, where wigs that are made of actual hair won't reflect light any more than actual hair. But synthetic wigs tend to have a sheen to them, more so than someone's actual hair. And so they'll, again, reflect the light. So if your character stands too close to your blue wall, your green screen, or your high-key white, they're going to get those reflected in the shine of their hair, and those parts will cause a problem when you're trying to tighten up your key. So, again, just to recap, paint, paper rolls, tablecloths, fabrics, any cheap material you can get. I've seen people use blankets as backgrounds. Keep your lighting even. Try to use the same type of light source. If you cannot, make sure you have a way to light balance your stuff in post. And that is a primer on doing Chroma Keys in the cheap. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them down below. If you have any advice for me, I can use some. Put that down below also. And next video, we'll probably talk about either light kits or power kits. And then after that, we'll go back to doing some pumpkins and things like that in the workshop. I know the workshop stuff was a little crowded, but I need to get that work done. And since I'm visiting with you guys twice a week, I'm probably going to have to get some of it done in front of you. Please subscribe, visit other channels, go like my friends' channels, and I'll see you Saturday. Thanks for joining us.